Greetings gamers, I'm Gav. Welcome to another Path of Exile lore video. Before we dive into Act 8, let's quickly recap Act 7. Among the bridge encampment are the survivors of the forest encampment that we met in Act 2. Aramir, Yena, and Helena. Groost has been possessed by the spirit of a god named Ralakesh, and Silk has become infatuated with a Vol spider goddess known as Arakali. Our core objective is tracking down Maligaro for Sin to consume his essence. To do so, we had to venture through the Fellshrine ruins into the crypt depths to find Maligaro's map. From there we could then enter the Chamber of Sins and use the ancient reverie device to activate Maligaro's map, thus allowing us to enter his hiding place, a nightmarish dreamland of the Inquisitor. Inside Maligaro's sanctum we found and slayed him, and returned to Silk with the spider venom that he sought. Little did we know it was a wedding gift for his bride-to-be, Arakali. Using the secret entrance through Maligaro's laboratory, we entered the den. Through these caverns, we can now access the burnt fields that run adjacent to the forest encampment. In the new fortified encampment, we find and slay the possessed Groost, thus wiping out Ralakesh. We can now enter the northern forest where we find the Dread Thicket. Within these dark brambles, we find the den of Gruthkol, another god returned to Rayclast. We put them out of their eternal misery, and through the northern forest we reach the Vol Causeway. It's through this causeway that we find the ancient Vol city. In the very center is the Temple of Decay, Arakali's temple. Yena can now transform into a firefox at will, and assists us in burning through the thick webbing blocking the entrance to the temple. We venture deep within the temple and finally arrive in the nest of Arakali. Here we meet Silk once again, who unfortunately becomes a snack for the spider. We take down the massive arachnid and we can now enter the ramparts outside of Sarn. Let's begin. Crawling out from Arakali's lair, we arrive outside the city walls of Sarn. Fighting our way through the typical Sarn fodder of beetles, vipers, undying, and others, we ascend the broken rubble of the exterior wall and reach the top of the ramparts. As we make our way across these ramparts, we finally arrive at the entrance to the Sarn Encampment.
Oh, it smells just like the Theopolis dueling pits.
We find Sin resting on the wall here and speak with him.
Doedre Darktongue is the insidious infection that threatens to make septic the great and terrible wound that is Sarn. However, any certainty that I had as to her exact whereabouts has been sundered by the sheer stench of her presence. We shall have to deduce her location from those who know the area best. These locals that cling to Sarn like hungry maggots.
From where we're standing, we can see what appears to be Tolman chained up next to Clarissa. Before we can handle all that, we first speak with Marimoa.
Good to see you in Sarn once again. I wish that we could be greeting under fairer skies, yet this city remains clouded in strife. Lunaris, eternal goddess of the moon, and her sister Solaris of the sun have risen to reclaim what was once their own. Siblings equal in strength, mighty twin rivers converging, sweeping all before them. We are cornered animals, awaiting the deluge that will surely drown us. Yet there exists a pair of ancient treasures, the sun orb and the moon orb. They are our hope, our desperation.
She tells us where Grigor has gone.
Grigor is the butterfly that has lost its wings to a cruel child, and this place of respite has become a cage for his pain, a breeding ground of bad memory. We spoke, and Grigor shared his resolve with me. He can no longer live with the torment that piety has injected into his heart. Like the warrior poet he is, Grigor has ventured into the unknown to find a cure for his body and mind, or die in the attempt.
We ask her what's going on with Clarissa and Tolman.
The dead do not love the living, and the living cannot love the dead. People fear what they do not understand. I understand Clarissa. I am not frightened of her. I am frightened for her.
Marimoa warns us of Gemling legionnaires.
They walked our earth in the times of great strife, cruel and hideous shadows cast against the clay wall of ruined abode. Thaumaturge Malachi grew them out of the vain ambitions of his dark imaginings. Emperor Chittis believed the legionnaires belonged to him, that Gemling men would beat to the drum of his own crystalline heart. but as the silhouette of the Emperor faltered and fell, burned out by the light of true men, some of the Legion remained. The cataclysm turned Legionnaire into monster, another mindless man of undeath. Yet this captain seems to have regained his faculties, some of his old warrior intelligence. I worry for the rest of his soldiers, how they may grow from mindless killing machines into something far worse.
We speak with Hargan.
Good to see you're still soldiering on. With all these gods and past horrors wandering around Sarn, I don't assume anyone's alive and kicking these days. If Sarn wasn't mad enough, now we've got some whip-tongued hag cooking up a stinking curse in the sewers. Took it from her mother-in-law at first. But no, based on my meagre historical knowledge, I reckon we have a certain Doedre dark tongue to contend with. Where in blazes is she hiding? I've no idea. So, the only way we're going to catch this witch is by getting our hands, and possibly a lot more, well and truly dirty. And by we, I mean you, of course. The sewers are no place for a simple businessman like me. Do us a favour. Head into them sewers and track that old hag down. Get her to reveal herself, and put her down. Ha! Better your eyes than mine, eh?
We ask about Grigor.
Grigor left without a single word to me, rude bugger. But I suspect his poetic soul has been drawn back home to Izmir. A long journey, but a trip worth taking to find solace among one's own people. Of course, they'll get quite the shock when they see him. Let's hope familial love is as nearsighted as they say. There are the fine tales Grigor will be able to tell them, of course. Come to think of it, now that Dominus has been knocked off his perch, there's nothing to stop the Izmites from learning a thing or two from Grigor's stories. They might even consider invading this jewel and raid-class tarnished crown. I certainly hope they have just such an eye for opportunity. A man could make a tidy sum helping said invaders navigate Sarn and its many hazards.
He tells us why zombie Tolman is chained up over there.
Quite the pretty pair, aren't they? Yeah, it's pretty bloody disturbing. That girl was once the sweetest lass I could name. Nowadays she's barking as batshite over that living corpse of hers. All it would take is a quick hard bash with a rock, and Tolman would no longer be a problem. Tempting, don't you think?
We ask Hargan what he can tell us about Solaris and Lunaris.
Needing my eclectic expertise again, are we? Solaris and Lunaris got front and centre stage among them folks at the Eternal Empire. Solaris was thought to be the light of leadership, guiding and enlightening each emperor that sat the throne. In practice, most of them emperors turned out to be a bit dim. But then history and theology have never quite seen eye to eye. As for Lunaris, a goddess of the moon and earth, the mother of dreams and inspiration. Doesn't sound like a bad lady until you consider that dreams harbour nightmares, and that inspiration is just one notion shy of insanity.
Lastly, we speak with Clarissa.
Sarn is changing, and so are we who live here. There, Tolman. Don't you worry. I love you. I'll think of something.
We ask her what the situation with Tolman is.
You told me Tolman was gone. You were wrong. I found him. No, Tolman, I never gave up on you. His soul remains, flickering deep down inside. Oh, Tolman, I know you're in pain, but it'll be over soon, I promise.
She tells us about Grigor.
My heart aches for Grigor. I know the battle in which he's engaged. It's like my own, a fight to make sense of life in a land that deems life to be worthless. I don't know where he's gone, but I do know he's looking to find himself, his true self, as we all must do in our own time.
Clarissa speaks about Emperor Veruso.
By all accounts, Tarkus Veruso was a ruthless despot, a man to rival even the likes of Dominus. Yet his heart of stone contained one precious theme, his love for his wife, Kiara. So when the poor young woman died giving birth to Veruso's son, the grieving emperor threw aside his great convictions and placed his last hope in thaumaturgy, in the Ankh of eternity. Perhaps it was shame that drove Tarkus to lock the Ankh away, to steal such hopes from his descendants. It was he who had asked his people to turn their backs on the ancient arts. So what right had he to enjoy that which he forbade? Love gave him that right.
We ask more about the Ankh of Eternity.
As I understand it, the Ankh of Eternity was somehow able to return the dead to the full bloom of life. There was nothing necromantic about it. Rather, it was a source of true resurrection. How it came to exist, I honestly don't know. A couple of inscriptions I read treated the Ankh as some sort of gift to Veruso from the Val. But surely the Val were long gone by Veruso's time, weren't they? No matter. Despite the vagaries of the Ankh's origins, Veruso used the Ankh to return his young wife from the deathbed to the wedding bed. The accounts are unanimous on that point. As it was for Veruso's love, so shall it be for mine.
It's time to track down Doedre. We enter the Toxic Conduits.
It's hard to look good when I'm always braving sewers.
The sewers of Sarn are even more disgusting and toxic than we can remember. The sludge itself has come to life and angrily lashes out at us. Zombies, vipers, and other beasts line these tunnels as well, all dripping with toxicity. Far to the north, we descend further into Doedre's Cesspool. More sludge Goliaths, vipers, and now undying block our way through to Doedre's hideout. Through wave after wave of them, we make it to the depths of the sewers. Lifting the iron gate blocking the entryway, we jump down into Doedre's lair. A giant cauldron lies in the center of the room. On it is a large circular valve. By opening the valve, the cauldron begins to fill with the foul liquid in this chamber. Suddenly swooping down on her skin flaps, a deflated Doedre dark tongue descends upon us. She consumes the contents of the cauldron and attacks. We take her down rather quickly, and that's all 3 essences.
After that, I need a bath.
We speak with Sin.
Once more into the breach, and once more we return victorious. Although I have to admit, I did not relish the sensation of imbibing that foul witch's soul. I felt decidedly unclean. Still, our journey nears completion. To the north lies Highgate and the cessation of our efforts to extract the dark ember from my dearly departed beast. And none too soon. Every hour, Kitava's strength grows, and the longer he and the other gods dwell on this land, the less is humanity's chance of survival.
The final sewer outlet brings us to a waypoint and 2 directions we can travel, north and south. We first return to the Sarn Encampment. Maramoa provides us with more information on the sun and moon orbs.
These owl eyes of mine have been watching the sun goddess from afar. The sun orb lies within her temple, guarded by her most ardent devotee, an exile who, in his insanity, has taken to calling himself the Dawn. That orb is the seed that must be stolen from this new son of hers and planted at the feet of his ancient mother. I've been keeping a close eye on that exile-turned-sycophant who calls himself the Dusk. Dusk carried the moon orb into the Lunaris Temple and has not returned with it, not as far as I have seen. No doubt he clings to that orb like it's his adopted mother's own nurturing breast. If you were to wean him from the teat and place that orb at the bereft mother's feet, we may yet see the moon itself fall.
We speak with Hargan.
You'd suppose someone as crafty as Doedre would have kept her ugly head under wraps as soon as she saw you coming. I guess death robs us of many things, including our common sense. In any case, thank you. The sewers can run clear now that there's no fetid witch clogging up the pipes. Here, have a little something to commemorate your fine clean-up job. Tell me something. Any chance you might be willing to join forces and turn a healthy profit with old Argan? You ever heard of the Wings of Visteri? Not just another damned artifact. This one was the highest symbol of the office of the Meraketh, held by the Sekhima of Sekhimas. History books will say the wings were last worn by Sakhima Asenath, the Golden Sakhima, the one who went and got herself murdered by Hector Tatooshus. The only problem is that Tatooshus himself is up and guarding his pretties once more. Still, if you can recover those wings of Asteri, then I'm confident I can sell them back to the Medaketh for a fair sum. They're a cultural icon after all, dripping with sentimental value. What do you say?
We ask him more about Hector Tatooshus.
What little humanity General Tatooshus was born with, he traded in for strength. Went as far as to have Malachi replace his joints with virtue gems. Mad bastard. Afterwards, Emperor Chittis charged Tatooshus with subduing the Medaketh. A job he took a little too much pleasure in, if you ask me.
Clarissa has a task for us.
Exile, you've helped me before. You can help me again, can't you? My hope waits for me to the east, tucked away in a shrine in the Quay. The Ankh of Eternity. Viruso, Prima Imperialis, placed it there himself at the dawn of the Empire. If the legends are correct, the Ankh has powers over life and death. When paired with the correct Asmerian ritual, I've learned the ritual. All I need is the Ankh of Eternity, and I know I can bring Tolman back. Properly, this time. Will you retrieve the artifact for us? I've tried, but the creatures around the shrine, simply too dangerous. Yes, Tolman, I'm getting to that. I've already prepared a site for the ritual out in the Quay. Please, meet us there with the Ankh so that I may yet breathe life into my dearest love.
We accept her quest, even though she seems a bit crazy. The south path of Doedre Cesspool leads to the Grand Promenade. We first take the northern path through the sewers and ascend to the Quay. Fighting through Hellions and Undying, we locate the Ankh of Eternity in a sealed casket along the southern docks. Traveling west, we reach the resurrection site that Clarissa spoke of. We step inside, Ankh in hand. We hand the Ankh of Eternity to Clarissa.
Give it to me quickly. Finally, Tolman. We can be together as before. All right. Let's begin. Suffering will besiege us, and yet love will prevail. Pain will imprison us, and yet love will prevail. Grief will engulf us, and yet love will prevail. Death will surely take us, and love will... No. This isn't right. This is... Oh, Tolman, please. Forgive me. Exile, look out!
Tolman begins trying to break his chains. Suddenly, the zombified corpses of the dead buried here begin to rise and attack us. After fighting them all off, Tolman finally breaks loose. Protecting both ourselves and Clarissa, we put the zombie boyfriend down. Clarissa seemed to only blame herself.
How could I have been so stupid? Viruso didn't hide the Ankh out of shame. He hid it out of fear, out of... Oh my. What did the Ankh really do to his wife? Everything I saw, that I read, lies to cover the truth of what Kiara had really become. All right, I'll destroy the Ankh. We've come a long way since Viruso's day, so I'm thinking I can manage where he so sorely failed. At least that's something I know I can do right. I'll meet you back at the encampment soon. For now, I need to... Look, I'll just see you there, I promise.
We return to the Quay. Fighting through more Undying, Hellions, and Undead here, we travel far to the west. At the very edge of the Quay, we locate the entrance to the Grain Gate. Through ruined buildings and roads, we clear the area of all Undying, Hellion, and Fowls that we find. Far to the northeast, we come across the Gemling Legionnaires that we were told of. We slay each and every one of them. You can still see the virtue gems lining their armor.
Honorable deaths. My gift to you, Gemlings.
On the ground where they stood is a scroll containing official orders.
Captain Osiris. Remain in the warehouse until I personally send for you. In the unlikely event that Chittis should fall, you and your fellow legionnaires will be safely beyond the perimeter of his heart gem's influence. You men and women are my finest work yet. I would not lose you all to some aberration of chance. Malachi, Thaumaturge Laureate.
We continue north until we find a bridge leading to the next location, the Imperial Fields. We follow the road here. Hostile bulls, fowls, hounds, beetles, and undead line these fields. As we reach further northwest, we come to the red ribbons of Solaris. We step inside her temple. Our goal is to reach the depths of this temple and find the Sun Orb. The orb is held by a devout follower of Solaris. As we travel through the hallways of this temple, more ribbons as well as followers of Solaris stand in our path. I found no lore or objects of interest throughout the temple. Finally, we reach the portal that leads to Dawn. As we enter, they attack us immediately. We take down the Harbinger of Solaris. Suddenly, the Sun Orb falls to the ground for us to take. We teleport back to the Sarn Encampment. We speak with Marimoa.
My courageous hawk removes yet another snake from the long grass. I offer you a reward, but my mind remains unsettled. The captain lies rotting in the ground, buzzing with flies. But if Gemling legionnaires can regain their sentience, then can all the monstrosities of the Undying do the same? My thoughts turn to the burrows and chambers beneath the earth of Sarn. Could there be some new, undead civilization growing and preparing itself underground at this very moment? Such thoughts do not make for easy sleeping.
We tell her what happened at the resurrection site.
If I am a watchful owl, then you are the courageous hawk, swooping with sharpened talons to wrench the serpent from the child's neck. Clarissa will bear that wound for the rest of her life, but I'm glad you were there to save her from following poor Tolman into the dirt. Perhaps now that Clarissa has lost her love of death, she will finally be able to embrace life.
We speak with Clarissa.
Poor Tolman. He was never really with me, was he? Just the shell of a man I loved. Wherever he is now, I hope he is at peace and that he can forgive me for not being able to let go. Here, take something for at least helping me. And thank you for everything.
Returning to Doedre's Cesspool, we now take the southern path and enter the Grand Promenade. Here we fight past undead blackguards, undying, and spectral soldiers. Following the minor causeway to the northeast, we locate the entrance to the bathhouse that Harkin spoke of. Undying as well as water elementals attack us immediately as we enter. We eventually make our way towards the center of the bathhouse. Here we find brittle gladiators and soldiers, undead that still exist from a time long past in Sarn. Finally, we come to Hector Titusius himself. The brutish undead man charges at us. We dispatch him quickly and retrieve the wings of Asteri. Further exploring this bathhouse, we locate a trial of ascendancy. The bronze monograph reads,
"On the night of 1,000 ribbons, our finest city burned. It burned with fires lit by cruelty and neglect. It burned with shame for giving the title of emperor to a man who did not deserve it."
We enter the trial. Beneath the floor grating are steel doors that open and close to reveal a pit of lava below. We avoid having our boots burnt off and navigate this trial.
"Allow your wisdom to be tempered by the flames of the past."
Exiting, we locate a side entrance to the High Gardens. We enter there to investigate. Completely overgrown with flora and fauna, we fight our way through the aggressive croakers and porcupines that inhabit these gardens. Far to the northeast, we locate an odd-looking side area, the Pools of Terror. Silver mirror-like pools lie all around the center of this area. As we approach, suddenly, Yugal Reflection of Terror jumps out from one of the pools and attacks us. As we cut down this beast, it suddenly retreats back into the silver pools. Out from these pools jumps over half a dozen copies of Yugal. We take down each, and finally out from the pools the actual beast returns. Yugal falls to our axe, and Sen appears to claim this god's soul.
Yugal! In death, the mirrors are thus shattered. Yugal was a cautionary tale. The only way to truly understand fear is to become it.
I've never been scared of mirrors. After all, I'm in them.
We return to the bathhouse, and following the rooms to the northeast, we enter the next area, the Lunaris Concourse. Followers, creatures, soldiers, and ribbons of Lunaris all guard this concourse. Fighting our way to the northwest, we reach the steps beneath the Temple of Lunaris. We step inside.
The blood is washed away, but I will never forget what you became, Veneer.
We set forth to find the Zealot holding the Moon Orb. Cutting through more forces of Lunaris, we descend further into the temple. What were once rivers of blood when this temple was being used by piety, now flow clean and clear. The darkness of night further envelops this level of the temple. Fighting past more followers of Lunaris, we make our way into the deepest reaches of this temple. There we find the portal that leads us into Dusk's domain. Destroying this harbinger yields us the Moon Orb. Now with the orbs of both sisters, we return to the Sarn Encampment. We first speak with Hargan.
So it was that bloody scholar after all, was it? Sick bastard. Well, he's gone now, and I hope you made sure he suffered like those poor kiddies he tormented. I'd have toasted him nice and slow like a spitted pig. See how he'd like them apples stuffed in his mouth. Here, have something for keeping us safe from the divine undesirables of this world.
We ask him about the wings of Vestiri that we retrieved.
You found them! No easy feat, I bet. How's old Hector these days? Not so good after you cross paths with him, am I right? I'll polish these wings up and get them back to their owners, just as soon as my Mariketh friend can get her folks to pay the ransom. Price, I mean. In the meantime, take a little something from my stock as payment. Well, they're forged from solid gold. I can tell you that much. But I suppose that's not really what you're asking about. The wings are a treasured piece of the Mariketh heritage. Back when the tribes quit their squabbling and joined hands to battle the Eternal Empire, the wings were seen as a symbol of their unity. The Golden Sechema wore them as she led the whole bloody Mariketh horde against Sarn. She was a single greatest hope for the Mariketh, was that Asenath. Hector Tatutius crushed both their hopes and their precious Sechema.
He tells us more about the orbs that we now hold.
Powerful baubles them orbs are. As old as his Mirians themselves, maybe even older. I've read all there is on them little beauties. The Sun Orb's said to contain all that has been, while its sister, the Moon Orb, holds all that will be, past and future, packed up neat behind glass and thaumaturgy. Shudder to think what might happen if all that got out one day.
Maramoa had this to say on the Sun and Moon Orb.
By the earth and sky, the power of these goddesses lies in your hands. Take these seeds and plant them in the fertile stone at their feet. From what I have learned, it is my hope that the orbs will force Solaris and Lunaris to grow limbs and flesh to engage you in mortal battle. May this come to pass, and may you cut down these goddesses as a forester might fell a pair of stubborn old trees.
We return to the Lunaris Concourse and enter the bridge to the southeast. We fight our way past Lunaris followers and ribbons as we travel north along this bridge. Suddenly, as we reach the center of the bridge, we find the ribbons of both Lunaris and Solaris fighting against each other. We take them all down and enter the shrine of the goddesses. The statue of the sisters sits in the center of the shrine. Beneath the statue, we place both the moon and sun orbs. Suddenly, the statues crumble as the sisters Lunaris and Solaris emerge and attack us. We deal with both the goddesses of eternal sun and eternal moon. As the sisters fall, Sen swoops in to retrieve their souls.
Solaris, Lunaris! Eclipse cold pride, flaming rage, and pass beyond this human age.
We speak with him.
Sun and moon return to their rightful places, leaving our path now clear. Highgate lies ahead, Beastslayer, and a debt that is long overdue. On this road there are the goddesses of Marraketh to be reckoned with, and they will not take kindly to our endeavor. Regardless, I must enter the corpse of my beloved beast, and wrest our sliver of hope from the life you so blindly took. There is no prophecy nor portent, no epic nor allegory, that can promise your survival in this great journey of ours. For despite your trappings, you remain most certainly, irrevocably, mortal.
A shame. I would have enjoyed further sparring matches with those two.
Entering the next area, we waypoint back to the Sarn Encampment to close out this act. Maramoa is very grateful.
You have offered us the greatest of gifts, freedom. With these divine tyrants gone, we are free to live our lives as we wish, not as is ordained. In time, all of Sarn will thank you. For now, let it simply be me.
We speak with Hargan.
I'd thank the gods, but you seem to be taking them out at an alarming rate. Not that I'm complaining. In my experience, theocracy's never been great for entrepreneurs like me. Unless you're in the Holy Relics business. That's too single-minded, too orderly. Give me chaos any old day, for it is in chaos that opportunity is bred. Sarn can get back to its usual state of mayhem, and I can get back down to business. Everyone's a winner.
And that's the end of Act 8. Thank you all so much for the continued support and kind words on my channel. My time here among the Path of Exile community so far has been absolutely amazing. In the next act, we'll be returning to the belly of the beast to retrieve the Dark Ember, putting us one step closer towards stopping Kitava and redeeming what's left of Oriath. I hope you all enjoyed this episode. Don't forget to like the video if you liked it, subscribe for more videos out of me, and I'll see you all next week with Act 9. Farewell.